All right, so we cleaned out our math binders. We're starting fresh. This is a brand new 9 weeks, guys. So that means today's homework will be the first grade. Our goal is to make perfect scores for everyone. All right, we are going to pass and grade tomorrow. But I'm going to send out a sheet that has the answers so you can make sure you fix your work tonight. Does that make sense? All right. We do have a test on Friday. So it's important that you are able to fix your work and find those mistakes tonight before you come in. Not just so you get a good grade, but so that come Friday, we're already fixing those. We already are doing those correctly, and we're not making a bunch of careless errors, all right? So we've got a table of contents that we're setting up for our notes section. We're going to number each sheet this 9 weeks so that that'll hopefully help us. I know last 9 weeks it seemed like, again, that method was a little confusing, so I'm changing it up a little bit and creating a table of contents for you. Because we can always improve. Just because I think something's going to work, found a better way, so we're going to do it the better way. All right. Right now we should have our notes in front of us. Let me see if I can get my notes in front of me. There we go. Notes for today, and these are number 1. So number 1, starting out nice and fresh. We're going to remember to number everything this time. It's going to be great and fantastic, and I'm going to find my pen. There it is. All right. You have a test on Friday. Now, y'all know when we have tests, that means vocabulary. And since y'all are in advanced, that means no word bank. So the last test that we had, guys, I was very generous and wrote that words up on the board. This test, guys, your vocabulary, it's these words we're about to fill in. Okay, I'm not doing a word bank. The majority of them you'll actually be able to tell me today. All right, there's one that we're going to kind of like focus on that's new, but the rest of them are already old. So the rest of them are words we should know, okay? You are not going to get a word bank on Friday. Are we good with that? Sure? Good? Okay. So make sure that we know them well enough to answer without one. All right, number 1 says to change mixed numbers into blank when dividing fractions. Now, I'm going to pause. I know I see some hands because I already see where I'm going. All right, now we are going to learn to divide fractions today. So if you're like, I don't know how to divide fractions, I don't know what you're talking about, that's okay. But do y'all agree that multiplying fractions and dividing fractions are related to each other? All right, so the process is very similar to multiplying. So for the sake of today, when we multiply fractions, what do you have to change mixed numbers to? Savannah? Improper fractions. And we're going to follow that same step when we divide. Okay, so we have to change our mixed numbers to improper fractions whenever we're dividing fractions. The same thing would apply for whenever you're multiplying fractions, okay? All right, number 2 says a whole number and a fraction create a, raise your hand if you know my answer that's going to go in this blank. Hayden. A mixed number. If I put a whole number and a fraction next to each other, that is making a mixed number. All right, on number 3, we want to label the 2 parts here. That top number, the 2, what would that 2 be labeled as, Julia? Numerator. And what would the 3 be labeled as, Sasha? The denominator. Questions on number 3? So far, have we done a single word that you haven't heard before? These are the words we've been working on really for the past 4 weeks, okay? All right, blank is an expression that is written as a numerator over a denominator separated by a line. And guys, last period, someone pointed out that, hey, this says numerator over denominator, which kind of gives away a vocabulary word if it was written like number 3, doesn't it? Numerator over denominator. So kind of pay attention because sometimes definitions will help you with the other ones. All right, Maggie, what is an expression with a numerator over a denominator separated by a line?
It took me a while, like a couple of minutes to figure it out, but I think it's a fraction.
It's just a fraction. It's just a fraction. And you know what, Maggie, you're right. Sometimes when we see something that easy, it takes us a couple of minutes because our brain tries to kind of trick us into making it hard. But we know a number on top of another number makes a fraction. And that's all we're looking for. Excellent job. All right. Number 5. Blank is the top number in a fraction that tells how many units the fraction contains. Juliana? The numerator. But Miss Sawyer, we already put that one on there. All right? These are two different ways. So I want you to look at number 3 and I want you to look at number 5. These are two different ways I can ask the same question. I could ask you to label it in a fraction, or I could tell you the top number in a fraction tells you how many units a fraction contains. So like if I look at this, I have 2 pieces out of 3, so that's how many it contains. The way that I could word this for a denominator would be blank is the bottom number of a fraction that tells how many pieces the whole is broken up into. So like when I look at 3, do I have 3 pieces? No, I have 2 pieces, but how many pieces was the whole thing broken into originally? 3, but we only have 2 out of them. Does that make sense? But again, if it says the bottom number in a fraction, doesn't that already give it away? Okay, so remember, the top number is the numerator. If it said the bottom number in a fraction, that would be the denominator. All right. Number 6, let's put a star right here next to number 6. Here's the new word. All of the other words are really old. They're review. You should know those. If you don't know any of those, if none of those were just like, I know it, it popped in your head, put a star next to those as well, because this week we want to spend some extra time with them. All right? Number 6 says 7 over 5 is the blank of 5 over 7. This is called the reciprocal. 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 Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to spell that correctly. Make sure we write that in. I'm going to make it a little bit higher so if you're in the back you can see it better. The reciprocal. Right? So it looks like the reciprocal is just where you flip it upside down, right? Just where it's like the opposite, which is basically what's happening here. Yes, Julia? This word will be spelled out in directions on the test, so we should be able to look at that and spell it correctly. Okay? Use all the other definitions, the directions that are in the other problems to help with spelling. Okay? Because it will be written out somewhere on that test if you need help spelling it. All right. So basically what's happened is to find the reciprocal, I took my 5 over 7 and I swapped them. All right. So the reciprocal is something that's really easy to find. Now we kind of run into a problem if I have a number like 3 1/2. Can I just flip 3 1/2? No, because I have too many parts, right? All right, we can't just flip that one piece. We have to be able to flip the whole thing. Is there anything I could do to this to be able to find the reciprocal, Caitlin? We want to change it to improper. So I'm going to make 3 1/2 improper because then will I have 2 pieces that I can just flip. Okay, so I would do 2 times 3, which is 6. Mason. Plus the 1 is 7. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7 over 2. Now remember, this isn't the reciprocal. This is improper, correct? So now we're going to find the reciprocal. All right, raise your hand if you can tell me what is the reciprocal of 7 over 2. Lily? 2 7s. Thank you. If you want to answer, please raise your hand because then you're interrupting someone else. Okay? All right, so do y'all see how then I was able to flip it? So can you find the reciprocal of a mixed number? Yes, but first you have to make it improper. We were able to do it, but we have to change it to improper there. Are we okay with that? All right, we're going to talk about reciprocal a little bit more in just a minute. But guys, our main goal today, our learning target says I can multiply and divide fractions. Now, we multiplied last week. All right, we're going to practice some more tomorrow with multiplying again. Today we want to focus on dividing. So this is our new technique. All right, so to divide fractions, step 1. Just like when I multiply, we can't have mixed numbers or whole numbers. So we want to, for step 1, change mixed and whole numbers to improper. We want to change mixed and whole numbers to improper. Is that whole thing up there, guys? Make sure if I go off the screen, you'll let me know, okay? So step 1 is really just like multiplying. Do y'all agree? Mix the whole numbers, make them improper. All right, step 2. I want us to put a star next to step 2. You'll notice, guys, I like to put stars next to the stuff that is important, or the stuff that's new. Okay, so here's where dividing becomes different from multiplying, okay? Do y'all agree with me that multiplication and division are opposites? Yes. Yes? Okay. Because of that relationship, dividing fractions looks a whole lot like multiplying. In fact, to the point where we're actually going to change it to multiplication. Do y'all agree multiplying fractions is easy? Yeah. Guys, breaking a fraction that's already in pieces into more pieces, that like kind of blows the mind a little bit. All right? The way that we multiply, the way that we divide them is we're actually going to change it to multiplication, which is the opposite. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. First, we're going to start by keeping. We're going to keep the first fraction just the way it is. All right, so make sure you write this down. We're going to keep the first fraction just the way it is. Not going to do anything to it. We've already made it improper, so we're going to keep it just like it is. Are y'all okay with that? After we keep, we're going to change. So we keep the first fraction. What we're changing the operation. So instead of writing a division symbol, I want to change it to multiplication. Now, y'all know in math, can I just go, poof, I want to multiply? No. There has to be something else that goes with that. Since I'm changing this to multiplication, we're going to flip that second fraction over. Because by flipping it, we are doing the opposite. Do y'all see that flipping action is what creates the division? So flipping the fraction, that's what's creating this and making it division. Isn't that kind of cool? So now we're really going to be multiplying, which we found out last week was kind of easy. All right, when I flip it, what is that called? What is that called when I flip the fraction? Eli? The reciprocal. So the reason that is one of our new vocabulary words is because we actually use the reciprocal in order to divide. We use the reciprocal in order to divide. All right, so number 3, once you've done your keep, change, and you flipped it, now that you've changed it to multiplication, now you can look and see if you can simplify. And then after I simplify is when I would want to multiply. After I simplify is when I would want to multiply. Okay. Guys, we're going to look at some examples together. In fact, we're going to look at some examples on your dividing, and y'all can tell I was a little goofy when I wrote this morning. We're going to be dividing fraction worksheet. Dividing fraction worksheet. All right, which is also number 2 in our table of contents. So while you're finished filling those steps in and fixing where I wrote decimal, because we're definitely not doing decimals, guys. All right, I'm going to pass out our worksheet for today. I think I gave y'all 6. I know I gave y'all 6. Layla, there's one in your stack for Sasha. right. So now we should have our homework out on our desk. All right. We are going to want a separate sheet of paper. So to do all this work, we are going to want a separate sheet of paper. I'm going to go ahead, guys. Make sure we number our homework today. Number 2. We're going to number our homework today. Number 2. So our notes were number 1. Our worksheet today is number 2. It says it over on our table of contents. It also says it up here on our board for our task today. Notes are number 1. Homework is number 2. Now, guys, I told you that we're going to need to do our work on a separate sheet of paper. What should I number that separate sheet of paper? Number 2, so I know they go together, right? So I'm going to number this number 2 as well, where I'm doing my work. Number 2. All right, and I could also label this my dividing fraction worksheet. Dividing fractions worksheet. All right. So, guys, these are going to take a little bit of space. I'm going to write number 1 out on my own paper. If I was doing this on my homework, I would probably be changing it to improper as I copied it. But we're going to do it all together. So 2 and 5/6 divided by 6 and 4/5. All right. So, guys, you should have your notes somewhere close by so you can look at them as you need. So step 1 says to change to mixed numbers and whole numbers. Guys, until you get used to these steps, keep those notes so that you can check your steps. Step 1 says to change them. So what am I going to change 2 and 5/6 to? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What am I going to change 2 and 5/6 to? Sasha? 17 over 6. We did 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17 over 6. I'm not doing anything to that division right now. I'm just changing my fractions. What am I going to change 6 and 4/5 to, Julia? 34/5. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 4 is 34 over 5. Okay, so there is our new problem. All right, in my notes, what does step 2 tell me to do? So this is the one that we put a star next to. What does step 2 tell me to do? Frank? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. I love that. And he gave me every step, because step 2 is more than one thing. He said we're going to keep the first fraction. We're going to keep it. And then he said we're going to change the division symbol to multiplication. Awesome job listening. And then we're going to flip the last fraction. So what's it going to change to? 5 over 34. When we get to that step. Okay? Are there any questions? So this was step 1. So I'm just going to kind of write step 1. This was step 2. So step 1, we change them. Step 2, we keep, change, flip. Step 3, we want to simplify. So to simplify, is there anything in this problem that'll simplify? Caden? 17 and 34, very good. That one's a little tricky. 17 is a prime number, right? So I still want to check, can 17 and 6 simplify? No, 6 won't go to 17. And then I want to check, can 17 and 34 simplify? So what I'm thinking is just 17 times 2. Oh, that is 34 if I work that out. So 17 divided by 17 is 1. 34 divided by 17 is 2. So when we're simplifying, this is step 3. So step 3, we simplified. All right, and we did that 17 and 34. Is there anything else that'll simplify here? What about the 2 and the 6? They're both on the bottom. You're right. So we can't do that. Just making sure we're still paying attention, remembering those rules. Good job. So we're done. We can't simplify anything else. So now on the top it says 1 times 5, which is 5. And on the bottom it says 6 times 2, which is 12. Is there anything else I can do on this problem? That's my answer. All right? 5 is smaller than 12, correct? So that's not improper. That's a regular fraction. That's fine. We're going to leave it like it is. All right? Number 2. Now, guys, first period and second period, we have powered through that 31 2/3. But I think it's holding a lot of people back because they're getting so focused on these big numbers. So what I want us to do, guys, is we're going to do 1 2/3 divided by 7 3/5. So on the worksheet over here, if you want to kind of mark out that 3, we're just taking that 3 off. All right, we're just doing the 1. That was a typo. In fact, it was supposed to be 3. That's okay. It's fine. It was a typo. My bad. All right. Step 1. What do I need to do first? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What do I need to do first here? Lauren? Change my mixed numbers to improper. So we're going to do 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So I get 5 over 3 divided by 5 times 7, 35 plus 3, 38 over 5. Okay. Can I simplify those 5s? I've seen a lot of people try to do that. Am I at that step yet? No, you cannot do that until you keep change flip, which is what we're doing now, right? So we're going to keep 5 over 3, change division to multiplication, and flip 5 over 38. All right, can anything here simplify? Malachi? So I told you to mark out the 3. All right, so first and second period, we powered through. We made the 31 work. We are not going to do that. All right, we're not going to get hung up on those big numbers. All right, so nothing will simplify there, right? There's no way 5 can simplify with 3. There's no way 5 could simplify with 38. So we're ready to multiply. 5 times 5 is 25. 3 times 38. Maggie? 114. All right? And guys, that will not simplify. Guys, was the smaller number on top? Yes, I'm not going to tell you how many people on the quiz last week tried to change those to mixed numbers. Don't change that, all right? You're going to get those quizzes back tomorrow, okay? All right, number 3. Number 3 says 31, not 31, 3 divided by 1 1/3. All right, can I leave 3? No, how am I going to rewrite my 3, Ansley? 3 on the top and then a 1 on the bottom. Keeping my division symbol because we're just changing the fractions. Malachi, question? All right. What am I 1 1/3? How is that going to change? Jordan? Excellent. 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 1 is 4/3. Okay, what am I going to do next? Let me rephrase that. Kaden? Close. We want to make sure we get that in the right order, though. Guys, kind of think of like, who in here likes fried chicken? All right, so it's kind of, instead of KFC, like the chicken place, it's KCF. But that K, it helps us remember that keep comes first, okay? So it's kind of like the fried chicken place, KFC, but we want to do KCF. In fact, now sometimes when we talk about going to KFC, I'm like, let's go to KCF. And you're like, My family thinks I'm weird. It's okay. All right, Malachi? In just a moment, I will. Okay. So at number 3, we're going to keep, we're going to change, and we're going to flip. All right, are you writing down number 3 with me? Okay, we're going to keep, we're going to change, and we're going to flip. All right. And now I'm going to look at that. Remember, until I keep, change, and flip, I do not simplify. Now I want to look and see, can I simplify here? Is there anything on this problem that'll simplify? Okay, so multiply. 3 times 3? 9. 1 times 4? Can I leave 9 over 4? This time I do have a big number on top. How many times will 4 go into 9? 2 times, which gives me 8, so I still have 1 left over, which gives me the 2 and 1 4. All right, we're going to do one more together. Okay, so there's number 4. Okay, number 2's up there at the top. Right here. We did 3 times 1, which is 3 plus 2. For the denominator, you mean? The 5 was the 5? The 5 is still the 5? We flipped it. Keep, change, flip. We kept, we changed, and we flipped. You have to flip it. Okay. So number 4 says 1 and 3/4 divided by 3/4. All right, step 1. Step 1, what should that problem say, Eli? 7 over 4 divided by 3 over 4. Did he change his second fraction at all? No, it wasn't a mixed number. It was fine, just the way it was. So we have 7 over 4 divided by 3 over 4. All right. Next step says to, Mason? KCF. We're going to K, which means to keep. We're going to keep the first one. C means to change. So we're going to change it to multiplication. And then F means we're going to flip. What's that called when we're flipping it? What was the word for that again? Reciprocal. Awesome. So when we flip it, we're going to find the reciprocal. What is the reciprocal of 3/4? 4/3. Okay. Will anything simplify here? Caitlin? Both 4s. 4 will go into 4 once. 4 will go into 4 once. Will anything else simplify here? All right. So now on the top, 7 times 1. 7 on the bottom, 1 times 3. 3. We got a big number on top. How many times will 3 go into 7? 2 times with 1 left over. So I get 2 and 1/3. And that is my answer. Guys, that's 4 of the problems, 4 of the 18 problems. You have 14 problems left. All right. I want you to see how many of those we can get done. Yes.
For some reason, I keep